educational institutes. So I'm very pleasure to handle a topic called e-content development in the higher educational institutes, which will be nowadays very familiar with the in your organizations or institutions. Now, let us before going to this e-content, let us see. Is the slide is changing it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Now let us see this how this evolvement of e-content has been developed. So few years back, when we see that we called it as a simple learning, that is always in olden days, learning is perspective with respect to the student itself or the learner. So that pays to the self-learning, and moreover, the self-learning is converted to the adult learning, where a teacher and a learner, that has to be student and a teacher evaluation has been done. So that means that it's adapted from self-learning to the teacher and student learning. That means that is called adult learning, where one has been already supervised and another is a refresher. Now, later when we observe that educational system and the recent trends having undergoing several changes, where the digital knowledge or a digital representation of the for information acquires more attractive towards the students. Now, when we observe in real time, most of the schools are acquiring the digital representation of information rather than in your ordinary textbooks or blackboard teaching. So, in gaining this information or in exhibiting this information digitally, so they require the ICT, that is information and communication technology, has been implemented at all levels of the education system. So in this case, the e-content under this category, e-content becomes very powerful tool of your education that creates the presentation of the content depends upon the learner and the learning system. Now, when we observe that ICT has become one of the building blocks of the society. Initially, in the olden days, the knowledge has been understood or has been qualified or quantitated in the base of the subject knowledge. But as the today era, these knowledge skills, what we call it as a skills, have been developed. Under this skills category, apart from the core of the basic education, the employer or the employee, whatever this they are acquiring or expecting, the communication skills, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. Now, that means in today's world, all this has becomes a part of this any individual in order to gain the information or knowledge. See, that means initially these olden days or the previous generations, that knowledge is being acquired or represented in the form of a written. So that means examination sessions, where the examination session depends upon the knowledge he gained and the teacher that he taught. That means only the written level it is represented, but it does not consider how much information that the student has been acquired while teaching and what is his representation of the information whenever the teacher asks again. So gradually it turns up into a skills where the communication, collaboration, and creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving becomes the major part of the skills, either to get the employment or to in employment. But nowadays, these level skills is been introducing to the each student from the schooling only. Now, under these categories, ICT has become a revolution that is the immense potential to provide more engaging, collaborative, and experiential learning platforms. So, under this case, the devoted teachers, that means that the dedicated teachers, they keep up always updating with the respect to the times and they always improve themselves to teach effectively and interestingly to the younger generations, where which under this case internet is become the natural environment. So now these the teachers have been improvising. So in order to gain these goals, there comes the e-content, that is which is helpful to the teacher as well as the student. Now, this is a valuable resource. E-content becomes a valuable resource for developing irrespective of the caste, religion, race, region, and gender bias. Those it is empowered to create or receive, share, and utilize informations. That means whatever the content it is preferred or prepared by any individual or any organization, that information is suitable for all the categories irrespective of their genders or religions. So this is about the latest kind of introduction why the e-content had becomes more important tool in the present days. So once we refer that, olden days we just go through and self-learning phases, and then self-learning is converted into adult learning where the teacher student has been program has been evolved. Now this student teacher programming under the previous some of the decades ago, it was only the traditional teaching, but to attract the students attention as well as the improvise the students enhancement skills like communication skills as well as these collaboration skills and problem solving skills. Now the higher education institutes tries to impact this ICT, that is information and communication technology, as a part of a curriculum implementation in the students curriculum or it's a students structure, program structure. Now and whenever when the institutes try to implement the ICT technologies, now under this case this e-content has become more powerful too. Now when the teachers tries to implement the or tries to speak or the teach the student with the help of the this e-content, they all the teachers also updated themselves with respect to the times. They improve themselves to teach effectively and interestingly, and hence now the EC2 becomes as a valuable resource for development of information rich society. Now let us see what is e-content. So e-content will be generally called it as the digital content, which or the information delivered over network-based electronic devices. So that means used as a internet. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, the e-content is also defined as the digital text and images designed to display on web pages. Here, the well-developed content can be delivered many times to different learners. So it depends upon the type of learnings or the group of learning mechanisms. So it may be the individual, the learners may be the individual, the learners may be a group, or the learners may be the organizations in a case. So it depends upon the learners. So we can develop the well-developed e-content, that is units, lessons. That means the e-content can be developed as a whole as a subject, or it can be developed it as an unit wise or sessions wise or even a topic wise also, where we can implement this either text or the media elements or the graphics to attract the students attention to the particular topic. Can be and can be these can be reused in many for different context also. Now the e-content becomes of digital education is not only designed to support also the things, but both the teachers and students can benefit through this e-content in transferring and acquiring knowledge. So either this gaining of knowledge can be done using direct face-to-face or it may be a remote locations. So the e-content can consist of many different materials. So it may be having one different cases. The most important roles of e-content from teachers' perspective is to support them in activating students and strengthening the individualization of the learning process. See, here when we taught or when we teach a particular topic on a blackboard, if some students may be visible or some students may not be visible, or some students may be audible and some students may not be audible because of their various concentrations case. Now, but while displaying or the e-content, now the teacher can attract them their attentions. So in addition, we can conduct the classes much more enjoyable and can produce the variety and group interactions also. That means we can conduct the group discussions based on a particular topic. So that depends upon the content they have been designed. But please remember that e-content is not a teaching methodology, but it is a resource that can be used in conducting classes regardless of the chosen method. Here, the digital education e-content is not only form of presenting the educational content, but also the materials like the presentations through videos and audio, gamifications, or many other methodologies which can motivate students to become the active learners. So, what we can gain from the educational e-content in use, that is the remote learning. So, in the case of remote learning, the student may get be somewhere else and the teacher can be at somewhere else. That means they are not at the appropriate places, they may be at a different remote places. Through that remote places also, then we can teach the student. That means it is able to learn individually as well as the in the case of remote learning process. Next, opportunities in the classroom. So while we are making the e-content in the use, now they will get the more opportunities for each and every student to express their doubts or their views regarding a particular topic. In the regular teaching methodology, only the sufficient time is given to speak for the teacher, but there is no sufficient time to discuss. There is no chance of discussion among the lessons. And the next one is the adaptive learning. Here, both the teachers as well as the students can exchange their informations so that they can develop the content more effectively and efficiently. So the next one is the textbooks. So here the e-content, one of the e-content methodologies is the textbook that is called e-PDFs, that is available in gadgets like PDFs. So that we will call as e-books. So these are possible for the educational e-content in use. Then for whom this e-content is developed, right? So for whom this e-content is developed. There are four categories for this e-content. That is students, they are the target. So for whom the content is designed for. So they are given that they can learn the subject or the topic through various methodologies like e-books and interactive assignments, right? So for these assignments, we can create the digital solutions also. So they can get the knowledge at anywhere in the world at any time. Next is the teachers. The teachers will play the supportive role with the students to enhance the skills of their students. Above all, the teachers also lends the various methodologies that can be implemented to solve or to produce the new solutions for a given particular problem in all over the different aspects. So therefore, the teachers also can gain the different methodologies to implement for a particular problem or to produce a given solution. Now, this e-content allows the development of each teacher's teaching methodology also. So on collecting, all the teachers will collect the data and statistics that inform about the students' development. From here onwards, the teacher's role is to calculate how far the students develop from these interactive sessions on the tasks they cannot solve. Next one is parents. So for natural reasons, parents appreciate solutions. That means nowadays it becomes more attractive, and the parents also more satisfactory, because whenever the child wants to access that particular topic, it is available all the time. But in previous sessions, it is only possible through the uh, year olden days. That is, next one is tutors. So the tutors is also can access the content, can impart their knowledge even more interestingly using the online resources. And the next one is the what are the various forms of e-contents. So the e-contents may be the visual, which can be expressed this image wise or graphical. And next one is the text like PDFs and rich internet applications such as like Wikipedia on web, and through games also, that is a particular solution. Next one is the e-journals, that refers to the advances of the topics which are published, and the database and the presentation such as slides regarding it. And also these contents can be expressed as the audio clips or the video clips, and the problems can be simulated using various softwares, and the animations can also be done based upon their content. And last, we can find the interactive sessions can be conducted using this MCQ, multiple choice and questions, and the ebooks, that is textbooks which are converted into the PDFs. Next, immersive content that will be expressed as augmented reality, as virtual reality, and energized books. So these are the various forms of e-contents. Now, keeping in view the diverse needs of learners, now use of e-content has become the essential component. Here, when we see it, the e-content is available in large numbers through various sources. But now we have to find out the desired quality. This is what the problem is. The e-contents are available. That is, content what we are going to make is already available in many formats like PDFs, like PPTs and slide shares. That there are several other mediums can be displayed, but we have to choose the desired quality which suits the our required purpose. So which required purpose as well as the technical aspects also. Under this category, now the copyrights issue becomes an issue. That means we cannot access many of the PPTs because of their copyright issues, because it restricts the customizing the content. So now, under these copyright issues become an issue, now the e-contents can be prepared by individuals, agencies and organizations by themselves. But this raises the issues the quality of that content prepared by the various agencies and organizations. So here the problem with the e-content is, since it is available in large numbers, but only few are very combined or very meetful for your requirements. But apart from that, copyright issues also been raised because they are not ready to download freely, or they have to give the customization. Under these conditions, no student or nothing, many of the people cannot avoid that money. So therefore, they try to prepare themselves, that is agencies by the agencies or organizations. But this raises the issues of the quality. What quality or what is the kind of matter they have keeping in order to keep the bulb. And the next one is the designing and development of e-content. So in order to designing this e-content design, now what this depend upon the nature of the content and learners. So here e-content design depends upon the e-content designers will depends upon the approach, and the depends upon the kind of the content they are preparing and what kind of learners they are going to target it. That means they are going to define it. So also apart from this, it also depends on quality and complexity of the learning you wish to create. So remember that whatever the thing you are going to prepare as a e-content, it must be quality. But while you are making on the quality e-content, the complexity, you should not create the complexity on the matter so that it cannot reach the many audience. So next, to develop this design, various design models are available. So most of the models are depending upon the analyzing the needs of the learner and goals of the instructional material development. So what kind of e-content you are going to prepare and for whom you are preparing, that is your goal, and what kind of material. For example, if you prepare for a seminar, the e-content must be in one fashion, so it consists of only the summary points, while as you prepare as an class, the e-content for a class, it should describe all the process along with the summary. So it defines that to whom you are preparing and what kind of the target people are there. And next, along with this, study of the material also can be developed. Now, in designing and development of e-content, we have to adopt one of the instructional design models. So, based on our requirements. So, before understanding of the designing e-content, it is essential to understand the meaning of the instructional design. So, let us see what is the instructional design. So, the model instruction is ADDIE model, where A stands for the analyze, D for design, D for develop, I for implement and evaluate. So this is a model where it consists of 5 phases. So generally this model is developed by Florida State University, so to develop for military inter-servicing training. So the first phase is analysis. Here the e-content developer has to analyze what kind of the learning needs. So that means, what do we make the content which is suitable for what kind of learners. For example, if the learners is a teachers, then we need to analyze what information is suitable and helpful to the that is teachers. If the targeted audience or the base students, then the e-content development is here different. So here, analyzing the learning needs is identifying the most important perspective of different learners, teachers, subject experts, practitioner and policy makers. Here the needs are to be clearly stated. That means for what purpose you are going to the develop the e-content. So that is the analysis. Before making the e-content, you should analyze to whom the audience are and what is their requirement, for what sessions they are going to take. So next one is the contextual analysis. Here it depends upon the whether this collecting the data is done for the individual or for the group, or it may be a formal or informal, or it may be a facilitated or self-learning, etc. That means after analysis for what kind of learning and finding the needs, you have to collect the data. But while collecting the data, you must be made full that what kind of environment it is there. That means whether this is you are making the e-content is suitable for individual, or they can make the self learning, or they require some another help, or it may be a group. So the next one is the learner analysis. Here, in other words, I will need to get the learner profile. If you are learning a learner analysis, if without learner analysis, what we can is, if you are developed e-content which is far beyond the knowledge of your student or targeted persons or targets, So here, whatever you are presenting, it may goes wrong. That means it cannot reach the destination so far. So under this case, you need to observe what kind of learner. That means whether he is motivated. That means they can able to read selfly, or they are visually literacy, and they are learning styles, that is language and competency. So the keeping these are the certain attributes you need to make while making the learner profile. So this helps to know about the learners. For example, if your targeted audience in your institutions, you are going to make the e-content regarding a particular topic. But if your class consists of an average students, where your content is taken from or prepared from a very higher educational information, then the only they can the information reached by them is only a very few. So remaining the aspect is with the learner, that is the teacher has to go for more elaboration. Under this category, under this case, the learner cannot, the student cannot open themselves and they cannot read themselves. So with the help of the teacher, again, whenever they open that content, without the help of the teacher, he or she is not able to read it. So this is why, because we never consider the learner profile. The next one is the task analysis. So here is, it is states the purposes of developing the e-content. So whether the task is for education or for the training purposes, or any program related the awareness and developing skills, etc., that depends of the task. That means the content should be related to a particular task. And content analysis, nothing but the content outline. So here you should develop the designing and develop content. You should create the content, that is outline. So here the outline will gives that accuracy and the objectives they are going to meet. So it also includes the classifying the content into facts, concepts. And the next one is the design. Here we design this content logically, specifying the instruction and evaluation strategies. And the next one is the learner objectives. So learner objectives defined in clear and realistic and measurable terms. So what is learner objectives? Oh, at the, that is called at the end of this program or the end of this content, what the learners can get or can obtain, that is the objectives. So specify their performance and communicate. So this is content is to be structured logically, following to simple to complex. Here the thing is, the learning objective is to clear what the learner will be able to do at the end of the course of program. But while preparing your learning content, keep in mind that it should always start from the simple to complex and known to unknown. If you start directly from the reverse order, it may go wrong view. That means the learner cannot be able to read it or understand it full-fledgedly or 100%. Now, the next one is the instructional strategies. So, how this instructional means, what we have to do at the end of the each task. This should be clearly specified. Like at the end of each unit, there is an assessment or assignment. So here that instructional strategies has there. In while developing the instructional strategies, we can go for the appropriate the media mixing, that is audio, video, and graphics. Next one is the learner evaluation strategies. That is, we can conduct the test. So after practicing that entire session or the topic, we can conduct some test. So we have to decide the formative and summative assessments. So now here is objectives. Before developing the content for the selected course, review the proposed learning objectives. Make sure that content, assessment, test, and exercise match the objectives stated. So here what we have to go for is all the things must match with your content, that is objectives. So providing the information is very important to meet the learning objectives. And here the next comes from the development stage. So here it is related to the creation of a storyboard. It is nothing but, right, so taken from the film production, that is, it is a script like in which the entire process has been divided into each steps. So that means this process is developed by step script, right, for the final outcome of the e-content. Now the storyboard is created based on the objectives and instructional strategies. Here, the developers create and assemble the content assets and learning objects. Clearly combine this development state. Here, what we will do is, what is my main objective? So, developing the content, what is the role I am going to play and how the content has to be prepared. At the end of the each sessions, now we will make the entire program into a different levels, that is level 1, level 2, or like this. That is called a storyboard, where it describes the step by step procedure. So for each step we can define whether it is necessary to conduct an predefined exam, or we can conduct a visualizing summary, or it is necessary to conduct a post multiple sessions choice questions. It decides by the content developer. That means we define whether each step requires any summatives or assessments, whether the assessments may be in your MCQ or in a PDFs or in your visualization or animations, in which steps we can use at a different levels. So this is what the development stage. Now the implementation phase. In this implementation phase, all the materials are distributed to learners. Now, under this case, a comprehensive implementation strategy document is developed. Now, what this is covering on during the implementation phases, all the materials to learn the particular content has been prepared. This document as a document. This document may be in the Word format or maybe in a PDF format. Then this document must cover all the curriculum that you have been prepared. So keep in mind that we should not deviate the curriculum and learning outcomes what we have earlierly specified. So method of delivery in terms of hardware and software. If you are going to display that material as in the website, keep ensure that your website is a functional. Next, evaluation phase. The evaluation phase consists of two parts, that is formative and summative evaluations. So, formative evaluation is present in each stage of your process. Summative evaluation determines the adequacy of the distributed materials in achieving the course objectives. That means summative evaluation involves the feedbacks regarding the materials that you have been submitted or to the learners. That means whether the material submitted to the learners is sufficient to achieve that formative evaluation or not. If not, you have to specify some of their references, or the material should be revised based on the feedback received. So here we can say that the four quadrant approach in e-content development. So here we get the quadrant one, that is text. Here the content writer is expected to write detailed write-up for a particular module for as per the content structure. Right now, in developing this text or structure, wherever it is necessary to use images or multimedia options, he can implement. So, or audio clips. For each topic or subtopic, content writer should use examples to explain the module if it is required. So, in the first phase of developing e-content is e-text. So here the content writer focuses on the modules and submodules. In each module and submodules, these expressed as a text. Meanwhile, the while explain the text, he can be used to determine the or explain the text with illustrations, or even if your requirement is the animations or images. And next one is quadrant 2, that is self learning. So in this case of self learning, right, So video tutorial which explain the topic of the module. So in this next case is whatever the content has been developed as a text that can be expressed or converted into the video file as a class. So this tutorial may include animations, documentary or simulation if it is a practical, etc. But which is used for a learner to learn themselves. And the quadrant 3 is a more source for further reading or web resources. Here in the third quadrant, the first quadrant is the script has been prepared while using the modules and submodules, using that different images as well as the PDF files, whatever thing. And next one is stage 2, whatever the material is prepared by the script or the content writer is converted into the class like an video tutorial which helps the learner to learn themselves. That is called self learning. After the third phase is whatever this prepared material in different, it should be expressed in different forms, like to the learner either in the books or articles or even the information coming from various websites. So this is what quadrant 3, that is the next phase. And final is assessment. So the content writer should provide minimum 10 to 15 questions for each module in multiple MCQ format with a true or false statements. Make necessary changes and enhancement in the content as suggested by the reviewer. So these are the four phases, where the first phase is all the content is to be expressed, including with either images or audio or video format, and then it should be converted into the video file which helps in the learner to learn themselves, which improves the self learning methodologies. And the third phase is after developing these two stages, now additional information can be provided to the learner from various books or the websites or the various websites that the information can collect. And finally, after all this information, when the learner has gained the knowledge, whether how much information has he gained from the concerned e-content, that is to be tested. That is called the self-assessment or evaluation. So this evaluation may consist, some of the evaluation may consist 10 to 15 MCQs, or it may be a true or false questions, or it may be an any other format assessive, which should be the find out the assessment of your learner. And from the feedback taken by the reviewer, the necessary material content should be either modified or improvised or should be according to the feedback given by the learner. So these are the four stages of the e-content development. And the next one is the content script writing. So how to write with the script, that means how to write the text of a develop. Now, for example, e-learning content may consist of simple materials, that is like your PDF documents. Sometimes we can be combined with your different other materials also, that is audio or video as well as the images. So somewhere we can use the electronics interactions. Now the development of multimedia interactive content is comprised of here three main steps. That means when we are going to use animations in your thing and your content, it consists of here three stages, that is content development. The simple as issue discussed, that is writing or collecting all the required knowledge and information. The next one is the storyboard development. Here it depends upon the storyboard development, depends upon the content you have going to be described. So whether it is storyboard is as necessary or not, it depends upon the type of the content and the type of the learners. Next one is the courseware development. If that's whatever the curriculum or the content has been developed using various softwares, now that should be used by the interactive components layer of media, producing the course in different forms like CD and in your website. So where we can integrate all the elements in a common platform so that content elements into your learning from that learners can access. Here, the storyboard is a word taken from a film that where we can describe the screen by screen. So, where the storyboard here it is not a final product, it is an intermediate product. That means by using this, you can change the modifications. So, while writing scripts simply and clearly, so while you make the clearing the contents or you are making the contents, you understand the formation of a language must be very simple and very clear. So it should not be longer than 25 words. So when we observe in real time, so while teaching the class, we ask the students to write the running notes where it consists of a short lines of a single information. We don't find in a running notes a larger sentences. So that sentences that is nothing but the storyboard. So they will divide entire the process into step by step, and they will convert it into that step by step into a single sentence so that the learner can access and understand every time when they are referred. The next mains to be considered are avoid jargon. Jargon means we need to confuse it. Don't use a confused words or very complicated words because our target audiences or learners may not able to understand. And if your content is related to the multicultural audience or if it is historical, or if you are making the contents regarding the history or different cultures, use the multicolor, reduce these colloquiums as examples, and minimize the use of compound sentences. And while you are observing it, you can make it as a simple, the sentence as simple as possible. If you use the gender inclusive, that is a non-sexist language. That means instead of using the gender, you make it into a common value. That is, for example, over the years, men have continued to use non-renewable sources at increasing rates. This is what it is. Men is your gender. So instead of using the men, I can use the word people. So this is what we can use. We could not specify it as the race or age. Now use if you are bulleted list when if you are is terms as n expressed in terms of points. Now the structure of interactive e-lesson. While coming this e-content, the next phase of here is e-lesson. Now the e-lesson consists of the learning objectives, that is where we can find the informal and clear description. The next one is the introduction, so where we get what the content is used and what the benefits you will get after learning this content. Next one is content, that is the main, that is the core of the lessons, where it consists of different slides or screens. So next one is the summary. At the end of the sessions, what kind of the key points should the learners should remember? So the next one is the importance of e-content development. So well planning is content by students' capabilities. E-content delivers to online and offline devices also, and is possible anywhere in the world and is possible at any time. So this e-content can be incorporated with multimedia also, but because of classroom. Now when you find it out, it depends upon the content and the learners, what kind of learners they are to be used and what the kind of learners are going to attend the accessing the e-content. Now e-learning, this is from the e-content, we term it called e-learning. Now what is the difference between the e-learning versus distance learning? Actually we use both as this, so synonyms, but a simpler a small difference will be there. That is e-learning where the target that is one place is, that is learners and instructors are at one place in the e-learning, whereas the instructors and learners are at different places at the distance learnings. Now here this is what about the e-learning and here distance learning. Now, the different types of e-learning is the computer managed learning. So, in this computer managed learning, everything that means that is called CBT. Nowadays, we will use a term called computer based test. What kind of test, whatever the exams you are going to conduct, the in terms of your CBT rather than your offline, that is you are writing the exams for sitting giving the papers and writing them. So it is very easier to make that content regarding as a multiple choice questions. Now this computer managed learning can access different tests, that means able to test, conduct the test, and it is able to analyze the results and keep the records of the learners, and it can be able to give the ranking also. This is what we generally followed in your this is that is computational exams. Now institutions can all use these systems for storing and retrieving the teaching aids. Now when we see it or when we deliver a type of content through this either laptop or a system, we can able to store that content as well as we can retrieve the content whenever we decide, and we can modify that content based upon the requirement or the curriculum modification. And next one is the computer assisted instructions. It is a computer assisted learning. Here this is an additional tool, will act as a additional tool for the traditional teaching. Now so this that means whenever the practical sessions has to be handled, now this can be done with your computer assisted instruction. Now most online and traditional schools today use various methods to facilitate the skill development in students. So the primary value is the interactivity. This is very important thing that we gain from this computer assisted instruction. And next one is the synchronous online learning. Here, the synchronous online learning, group of students can simultaneously participate in activities in real time, anywhere they are in the world. So, this interaction will be in online and at they can able to all the students or the students wherever it is part, they are able to access the content simultaneously and synchronously. So here the synchronization is provided by the online or video conferencing mediums. So here we can able to access multiple number of students without providing the delays. So this type of community oriented e-learning is one of the quickest growing types of e-learning. Here next one is asynchronous online learning. Here they will access the communications at different paces and different times. So they are not able to schedule. So technology is used for asynchronous learning methods. For example, in order to access the content material in asynchronous mode, it has to be stored or it has to be available in another forms like the emails, blogs, books, discussion forms, and CDs and DVDs. That means it has to be the material has to be available either in one of these forms. Next one is the fixed e-learning. Here, all the learners will have the same content to read it. So here, the same content for every learner, the same content will be provided, and it is not able to change. So this is because of its rigid nature, this type of e-learning is often not ideal in learning environments, because every time we are going to change that content based upon the information availability and the developments of the regarding concept. And next one is the adaptive e-learning. Here learning materials are redesigned and adapted to fit the needs of each individual learner. Here we take the feedback from the learners and what the suggestions they are adopted in development of materials. So we try to implement that materials, right? And we make that the student performance, and then we access the student performance and abilities, whether the goals are reached or not. And under this case, the technology has advanced to the point where it is possible to implement laboratory based technique also effectively. The resulting information can further guide the assessment of instructional design processes. Next one is linear e-learning, and under which linear e-learning, here only the information, single way communication, that is sender to receiver. That means whatever the content has to be delivered by myself, I just deliver and it will be present on it. That means there is no consultation of feedback from the receiver. Just like the classes that are going to be delivered under the case of televisions or radios. Here they could not take the feedback whether the learner is able to listen the concept or not, have any doubts regarding the particular concept. They are not about the bothered. They goes on the instructions delivering. And the newspapers are some of your examples of linear e-learning. And next one is the interactive e-learning. Here under this case, two-way communications. That means whether these are understood or not, that is taking the feedbacks. So that will come here about your giving the quizzes and giving the feedback forms, and through the materials, through your PPTs, and all this comes here interactive e-learning. And next one is individual e-learning. So that means the material will be provided to the learner. The learner has to learn by himself or herself, and here individually, and the students are expected to meet the learning objectives on their own. This is just like a traditional, this is a mirror like a traditional classrooms. Next one is collaborative learning. So compared to individual e-learning, collaborative learning means here we form a group, a small group which consists of 2 or more students. They engage with a particular task. They share their knowledge or their content they have gathered, and they will develop a final output. So here where individuals can interact themselves and learn from each other also. And the next one is how the e-learning methods can be delivered. So it is computer-based training or web-based training. This e-learning contents can be delivered. So this is can be computer-based training. It may be used nowadays, that is CDs, DVDs, but nowadays we are using the pen drives and also storage devices. So that we can use that. And usually runs on the learner system, CBTs, that is computer based training is usually runs on the learner system. Whereas web based training is internet, it use the platform. So that means the learner has to access the particular website, and then he has to download or some interactions or instruction lines, and then he has to adapt these the learning content according to the instructions. Here this phase of WBT, it is very good for the adult learners who just known the learning new skills. Next one is the blended e-learning. Here blended e-learning is face-to-face instruction and computer-mediated instruction. It is combination of face-to-face as well as the computer-mediated. Now, this is about their blended e-learning, which encourages the educational and information review beyond classroom. How this is blended e-learning is, first we will take the classroom and we will explain all those things, and later the assessments what we are going to take, that can be done using the computer based. So this will be there. Next one is the mobile e-learning, just like a Swayam and Kitel, and the content which are going to be delivered or download under the mobiles. So therefore, they can be accessed with the different frequencies under different situations. Now, though the easy availability and affordability of mobile devices can make e-learning more accessible. So therefore, these mobile e-learning requires disk space and the screen size and internet connectivity. And the next one is the social e-learning. So the social e-learning involves the application of social media platform, whereas Facebook and this, there we can learn the things through your WhatsApp chat or a chat GPT. So we can use the different social platforms to learn between, that means it creates a platform between the learner and the instructor. So in these the technologies, video conferencing is also possible. And next one is the game-based e-learning. Suppose some of the problems like we are a small school children, to adapt them, right, to learn them instead of using the contents, we are trying them to learn through the graphics. So under this case, we will make the multimedia as a mediation, and where we can generate the simple games to learn the particular topics. So therefore, these full-fledged games to help learners achieve their objectives. And next one is the drawbacks of the e-learning. So as well as these many on advantages, we come by across the drawbacks of e-learning. That is, online student feedback is limited. So next, e-learning may cause the social isolation also, and e-learning depends upon the individual motivation and skills, management skills. This is very important thing because we are not able to make all the learners to read at all the times. At their choice, they depending upon their time, and they will able to open that. Example, your NPTEL courses or anything, any courses that are developed by the school educations. Now the lack of communication skills. Here we can improvise it, but we cannot able to communicate or recollect the information from the student because it is only online versions. And while conducting the exams on online, it is difficult to monitor the students' activities or the learner activities. Next, online instructors tends to focus on majority they focus on theoretical aspects rather than practical aspects. And here, due to this e-learning lacks to face communications also. And mostly this e-learning is limited to certain disciplines as it is not suitable for certain subjects like mathematics because even if it is displaced, the students cannot be understand until it is put out in the board. Online learning is inaccessible to the computer illiterate population. But most of the thing cases, when you observe it, it is mandatory that the learner has an awareness on the computers. Next, lack of accreditation and quality assurance in online education. So the accreditation and quality assurance is there is no proper agenda that is a proper authentication. So it may gives one of your drawback. And finally, this may conclude that the e-content is an extremely effective teaching method. It is beneficial to both students and teachers in all our types of personalized instruction systems. So it is the most recent style of instruction that has sparked more interest among the teaching community worldwide. The benefits of e-learning are mainly the cost efficiency, accessibility, and flexibility in terms of time and place. Now it allows the learning to take place when the lecturer and the learner are separated both in time and space. That is a remote learning. It also provides the convenience for both tutor and the learner. So this is a way that I can conclude of your e-content development, and along with the e-content development, it is about the e-learning process. Thank you.